Ah, the clean air of the city. Everything seems so nice and clean, doesn't it? Got a pool on my left-hand side, got some grass growing, lots of trees, kids playing around. Life seems so perfect and appealing. But that, my friends, only happens if you're staying in a nice housing complex like this one. What happens to you when you step outside these walls? That's the question for the day. As our lives are becoming bigger, brighter and stronger, the air, the atmosphere is becoming grayer and darker, which is a force of evil upon you and me. Getting a little dramatic there. But yes, indeed, thousands of toxins are released into our atmosphere on a daily basis. And this leads to an eventual respiratory disorder in our body called asthma. That's the friend who's not going to be a friend with us for the rest of our lives.
When you breathe, air travels through your nose, down the trachea, into smaller and smaller airways called bronchi, and finally into small sacs called alveoli. It is here the oxygen is exchanged for carbon dioxide. During expiration, the carbon dioxide is expelled from the body.
All right. As always, we have our experts in the house. Let's get it straight from the doctors. Doc, what happens to a person when they're asthmatic?
When a person gets asthma, the inner lining of these bronchial tubes get inflamed. And when it gets inflamed, it gets swollen up, it produces more secretions. So the lung pipes, they get narrowed. And not only they get narrowed, they become hypersensitive or hyperreactive to a variety of triggers. So that's why many asthmatic when they come in contact with dust, they feel breathless.
Ouch! That's a lot of gasping and panting. So Doc, how many men come to you with respiratory disorders?
Men, women, as well as children. This is a peak season for respiratory problems in our country. In December, January, all kind of people come to us. But on an average, I would say probably 50% of patients, especially men who are coming to us, would have respiratory problems of some sort or other.
And what are the various types of respiratory problems people have?
They would go on from all kind of varieties actually. You may have common colds and coughs, which one has in this season. You can have viral infections. You can have pneumonias. You can have bronchitis. You can have chest congestions. And I think bronchial asthma, COPD, which is a full form is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Any of these problems which can go from the nasal tract till the lungs, any kind of inflammation or infection in these areas, patients can come to us with all these problems.
Well, that brings us to a very important question. How can we differentiate between a life-threatening asthma attack and a mild asthma attack?
That's a good question, I would say. Bronchial asthmatics tend to have bronchospasm, which means they have chest congestion, they have breathing difficulty, and they may wheeze when they take a deep breath, which means a whistling kind of sound which they have if they take a breath in. So you can probably recognize an asthma from some distance or asthmatic from some distance. But if it's an extreme asthmatic situation in which the bronchospasm is very severe, then surprisingly and paradoxically we have what is called as a silent chest, in which the whole chest is silent and the bronchospasm is so severe that hardly any air is going in. In that case, the patient is making a lot of effort to breathe in. The patient's muscles, extra muscles which come into play to put the same kind of air in. For example, the nostrils, they might be blowing a little bit of air, or the chest might show a little bit more heaving effort and more effort for. So patient would be panting and would be making a lot of effort even when he's in a sitting position. Probably that's one easy way to differentiate between a average asthmatic and a severe asthmatic, plus many other technical ways in which we can do that.
There you have it. And to tell us more about this, we have a guy who's been facing asthma problems for a long time, and that's my friend out here. Tell us about how it happened to you first.
I don't really remember properly. I think I was about 10 and I was playing cricket and I felt a little breathless. So I came home and I told my mom about it. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but we have a family doctor, so he came home and he checked it out, and turns out I was asthmatic. So he gave me a Astelin thing, that pump thing.
And let's ask our friend down there, has he had any severe asthma attacks?
Yeah, a big one. I was going home from Delhi to Aurangabad, that's where my parents stay, and I was packing up all my stuff, and there was a lot of dust in the air because of the packing. And that coupled with the train ride from here to Aurangabad, my lungs were like filled with a truckload of infection or whatever it is.